If you're planning your move to Chattanooga, chances are you're looking for one of three things. Number one, you're a first-time home buyer and you're looking for a place to plant some roots and maybe even start a family. Or number two, you're looking for a little bit of a lifestyle upgrade. Maybe you need a little bit bigger home, a little bit more space, a couple more rooms for the kids, things like that. Or number three, you're looking for that dream home with a view on the water or just a super luxurious environment. Regardless of what you're looking for, in this video, you're going to find out which areas and neighborhoods might be a good fit for you based on your current life situation, your lifestyle, and your budget. I'm going to share my map with you and break down some of these areas so that when you're doing your own research on Zillow.com, Realtor.com, you can have a much better understanding of what exactly you're looking at. Here's how we're going to do it. We're gonna break this up into tiers. Tier one being your entry-level home. We're gonna stay under the $500,000 mark, and I may even share a few neighborhoods with you. New build communities that are offering builder incentives, paying for your closing costs, maybe even a rate buy down, lower interest rates, and things like that. Tier two is going to be your mid-level lifestyle upgrade where we need a little bit more space, maybe a couple more bedrooms for the kiddos. And tier three is going to be the final boss, dream home. We're talking ultra luxury. Maybe you want to be on the lake. Maybe you want beautiful mountain views. Maybe you want a super luxurious home in the middle of the city with close access to everything. We're going to be covering all three of these, so stay tuned. It's going to be a fun one. So before I share my map with you, I want to share a quick story. I was at the gym the other day and a guy named Chevy, he comes up to me and he's like, "Have I seen you on YouTube?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's me living in Chattanooga." And that has happened more times than once. Guys, if you're watching these videos, if you've been a viewer of the channel for a long time and you're on the fence from reaching out, guys, there are people who reach out to me every single week. And I love hearing from you guys. So if you have not reached out and you want to, please feel free to call me, text me, email me in any of the ways down below. I love hearing from you guys and I love helping you with that relocation process and finding you that dream home. Let's dive into the map. Okay, so here's a view of the greater Chattanooga metro. I like this terrain view on Google Maps because it really kind of gives you a better idea of what you can expect in Chattanooga and the different neighborhoods, right? So one of the unique things about Chattanooga is the city itself literally sits at the base of the Cumberland Plateau. So you hear a lot about other cities having access to outdoor activities and things like that. Well, if you're in downtown, you're a 5 to 10 minute drive up to Lookout Mountain right here. And then you're about a 10-minute drive to Signal Mountain right here. And anywhere you are at in the city itself, you'll likely have a good view of Lookout Mountain or even Signal Mountain. So the access to outdoor activities and that outdoor lifestyle is extremely accessible in the city itself, whether you're in North Shore or South Side. I'm getting ahead of myself. The first thing I want to do is point out some points of interest that we use as reference points when dividing up the city. Number one of the obvious ones, that is the Tennessee River. The Tennessee River runs straight through downtown Chattanooga. It turns into Chickamauga Lake up here, which is another reference point. But the river splits up the city into North Shore, and then you have South Side. South Side is going to be the more urban district. If you're working downtown, you'll likely be working in South Side, and North Shore is the more suburban urban district. This is a very trendy town because it's so walkable. It's very hilly. You can get a lot of exercise. It's very active, and your access to the urban side of downtown Chattanooga is very easy. It's a 5-minute drive, or if you like walking or biking, you can go that route as well. The next thing we'll go over is Chickamauga Lake. Chickamauga Lake, it is fed by the Tennessee River, right? And so, we've got a few state parks. We have Harrison Bay State Park over on the east side in Harrison and Ooltewah. And then we have Chester Frost Park on the west side in Hixson, right? So this lake separates Ooltewah and Harrison on the east side from Hixson on the west side. Next, I want to go over some of the major roadways that you'll likely be traveling on depending on which town you decide to live in, right? So So number one, you have I-75 that connects Knoxville to Chattanooga and Chattanooga to Atlanta. And it kind of makes this little V shape right here where it meets I-24. I-24 is another one of the major highways in Chattanooga. It connects Chattanooga to Nashville. This split right here, I mentioned this a lot in the videos, you'll see a lot of the traffic happen right here. Not so much for people going down to Atlanta, but certainly people traveling from downtown to the outside suburbs out east, whether it's East Brainerd, Ooltewah, Cleveland, or Harrison. Okay, so the next road we'll go over is Highway 58. This is a beautiful drive. It connects all the way from the north side of Cleveland to Amnicola Highway, which connects you to downtown Chattanooga. If you are living in a place like Harrison or Lakeshore Estates right here in this little thumb section along the lake, then you'll likely be traveling on Highway 58 to get to downtown. That's the easiest way. Next spot is Highway 153. This connects Hixson to East Brainerd. So East Brainerd, you have the Hamilton Place Mall right here, which is the biggest mall in Chattanooga. If you're living on the east side, you're likely going to be going here for a lot of your amenities like Home Depot, Lowe's, Whole Foods, that type of thing. But it connects you from Hamilton Place all the way up to Hixson. The next major highway is going to be US 27, which connects all the way from Sale Creek and Soddy Daisy, connects you to downtown Chattanooga. I love this highway because there's never any traffic on this highway. The reason is because there's not a ton of people who live up north. Also, there are building restrictions. And so this is considered a scenic highway. You don't have any billboards, you don't have any road signs or advertisements or anything like that. If you're traveling south to downtown, you've got the Cumberland Plateau and Signal Mountain on your right. If you're traveling north, you've got it on your left, but you're wedged right in between the mountains and the Tennessee River and Chickamauga Lake. So the views are absolutely stunning and it's just an easy drive because there's no traffic. Okay, so the meat of the video, all right, what we're even talking about. We'll start with the entry-level homes and the entry-level areas. There's going to be a few spots, and I'll tell you this, Chattanooga is a lot of times like a big mix, and it's not very big either, right? So there's a few spots that have a little bit more uniformity, very similar home prices, home styles. I mentioned that in Ooltewah a lot. But you have to keep in mind that the northern side of Chattanooga, northern meaning above the river, we're talking Northshore, Red Bank, Hixson, up to Soddy Daisy. These are the more established parts of Chattanooga. So if you're in Northshore, if you're in Red Bank, Hixson even, a lot of times you'll see homes that were built in the 1940s, 50s. They're historic homes. They have a lot of character, and you'll see them next to a brand new mansion. A lot of those 1940s, 50s homes have not been renovated yet. Many of them have in a place like Northshore. However, just expect there to be a little bit more of a mix of the different types of home styles and home prices in basically all of Chattanooga. That's just an expectation that you have to have up front. But just understand, north of the river, more established, you got older homes, older communities with a mix of newer homes on infill lots and even newer, smaller master plan communities. Now, with that said, some of the more entry-level home areas are going to include Red Bank. Over here, we've got Hixson, which is basically this huge area right here. Actually, that's more of Hixson right there. Sorry for the drawing. That looks like a child. And then north of Hixson, you've got Soddy Daisy. All right. So, and that kind of covers like this entire area up here. This entire area is awesome because you are wedged right in between the lake and the mountains. And so we talk about Chattanooga having very close accessibility to the outdoors, hiking, mountain biking, boating, things like that. If you're living in one of these three areas and you can easily find a $400,000 home, certainly something under $500K, your accessibility to the outdoors is absolutely awesome, right? So a few things. Soddy Daisy is going to be a little bit more rural. It's going to be very hilly, as you can see on this terrain map. There are a ton of different little hills, and so keep in mind if you're coming from a place like Florida, driving and just your daily lifestyle is going to look a lot different in a place like this. If you're in a community, it'll likely have a lot of hills, all right? And so you can't just go outside your house and go on an easy walk throughout the neighborhood. You can, depending on your fitness level, but just understand it's going to feel like a little bit more exercise as you are walking up and down and biking up and down this hilly terrain. The elevation out here seems to be a little bit higher as well. So during the winter months, you'll likely see about a 5-degree difference, meaning out in Soddy Daisy where the elevation's a little bit higher, you're gonna see a drop in temperature during those winter months, right? So it's more likely to snow out here. It doesn't snow very often out here, but just that's a little side note, right? It's gonna feel a little bit more rural. You're gonna be about 30 minutes from downtown Chattanooga, but again, you get to drive down US 27, so it is a very easy drive. As far as amenities go, your main amenity center is going to be the Northgate Mall in Hixson. You're gonna be likely around a 20-minute drive to the Northgate Mall. But main thing here is if you're looking for a slower pace of life, you're looking to relax a little bit, you wanna be a little bit more immersed in nature, and you don't want to break the bank, then Soddy Daisy is the place to go in general, because we're going to go to those high-end homes here in a little bit, and you can easily find some beautiful million or multi-million-dollar homes along the lake. But we'll go over that in a second. Next spot is going to be Hixson. So Hixson is one of those middle ground suburbs where it's very amenity heavy because you do have, well, you have a few different spots, but you have the Northgate Mall right here, which is going to be one of your main amenity centers if you're living north of Northshore and even in Soddy Daisy, right? Highway 153 is a big commercial stretch with a bunch of different commercial areas. You also have Dayton Boulevard over out this way. And so depending on where exactly you are living in Hixson, will depend on which route you're gonna go to downtown, if you really even need to go downtown. A lot of people who love boating live in Hixson because very similar to Soddy Daisy, you're super close to the lake. One of my favorite parks to go and launch a boat or to have an afternoon picnic or a Saturday picnic or just some green space to hang out with the family is Chester Frost Park. There's also campsites out here as well. Chester Frost Park is across the lake from Harrison Bay State Park. And now your median home price in Hixson is going to be around that $425,000 mark. And again, it's going to be a mix between newer communities and older homes. There's a lot of homes that were built in the 1970s and 80s in Hixson. Some of them need to be renovated. You'll see a lot of split level homes or brick ranchers in Hixson. You'll likely see those in less established neighborhoods. And you will see more established neighborhoods. Keep in mind, the more established the neighborhood, likely the lot will be bigger as well. So something you're trading with an older home is having a bigger lot. There are new construction communities in Hixson as well, like the Farmstead by Green Tech Homes. There's also another community that's popping up by Green Tech. It's called Storyville. It's going to be a really cool community. These homes do have backyards. However, they're pretty much right next to each other, right? So if you're wanting something with a little bit less maintenance, that's the way to go. And if you want something with a little bit bigger lot, then you might just have to sacrifice and get a little bit older home. That may very well be renovated, but expect to do some renovation if you are looking for that older home. Hixson is also part of the Big Ridge School District. So if you do some research online, they have some good schools. I recently helped a family from the Northeast. They had a set of twins and 4 kids total. Alex, they were amazing to work with. And I helped them find a bigger 1990s brick home in a very established community that offered, more space, a bigger backyard, and more bedrooms. And typically in Hixson, you can find a little bit more bang for your buck as well if we're comparing it to a place like Ooltewah. In the moment, I changed the way that I'm going to structure this video. As we're diving into each of these areas, I'm just going to tell you exactly where the entry level, mid-range, and the high-end homes are going to be. So going back to Soddy Daisy, the high-end homes, if you're wanting a lakefront home, there is that availability in Soddy Daisy, right? Now, keep in mind, I went over this with another client, Rob. He was looking for a lakefront home initially. He ended up purchasing a more modern home in Northshore, which is completely opposite what we were initially looking for. But, you know, that's what he ended up wanting. All right, so sometimes plans change. However, going back to my original point, if you are living in a lakefront home, you're likely not going to be in an established community, okay? And what you'll see is you'll have a $3 million home on the water, and across the street, you'll have a $400,000 house or a $500,000 house. And that's when I talked about in the beginning of the video, there's little uniformity in all of Chattanooga. There are certain areas that have some good uniformity where the homes are very similar in price and style. But if you're not in an established community, there's very little uniformity, especially when we're talking about lakefront on the north side. It's going to be very similar in Hixson as well. You can easily find a multi-million-dollar home on the lake in Hixson. Soddy Daisy is going to be a little bit more affordable, where you can find something for 1.5 to 2.5. And then Hixson, it only increases, right? You know, you can easily get something for 4 million on the water. It really just depends on exactly what you're looking for. Soddy Daisy and Hixson are going to be very similar in the way that they have all levels of homes. You have your entry level, you have your mid-tier, and you also have your luxury as well. And just going back to Soddy Daisy real quick, you have to be careful on what you're looking at in Soddy Daisy. I actually went over this with another client named May, where she really wanted to be in Soddy Daisy. And the homes that we were initially looking at were actually on the east side in the valley in the Cumberland Plateau. All right. And then she found a beautiful home for a good price that had a Soddy Daisy address, but it was actually in the mountains. And she lives in Florida. And I went over there and did a video showing for her. And I told her, I was like, hey, this is completely different from what we were looking at, because your access to downtown, your route to downtown is going to be different. You're going to be driving through the mountains in order to hop on US 27 to get downtown. And it's not as easy as if you were living in the valley. So just keep that in mind when you are doing your own research. There's a little bit of Soddy Daisy that is included in the Cumberland Plateau as well. If you don't want to drive those mountain roads, then you're just gonna have to look at the map and see exactly where it is in Soddy. Anyways, Soddy Daisy, Hixson, you can find all types of homes that you want, all types of communities. You can find your entry-level home that might be a little bit older. It's likely going to be brick, either a split level or a ranch style, either in an established community on bigger lots or on infill lots. You can also find smaller master plan communities in Hixson, like the Farmstead, or you have Storyvale that's coming up. And also in Soddy Daisy, there are a few communities like the Inlet by Pratt Homes that also have a little bit bigger lots. That's actually one of the communities that I've seen that have newer homes on a little bit bigger lots. We're talking half acre plus. There's just a big mix of everything in both of these areas at all price points, right? If you want the more luxury, 1.5 million plus, then you're going to be finding a lakefront home along the lake. Keep in mind, the further south you go, the more convenient it gets to downtown, the more expensive it gets as well, for lakefront anyway. If you want something with a view, there is opportunity in Soddy Daisy for that as well. Again, you're going to be paying for it. That's going to be more of your high-end home. And then same thing in Hixson as well. There's opportunity to get homes on bigger lots. Maybe you want some acreage that's going to be more prevalent in Soddy Daisy. Maybe you want a view that's going to be more prevalent in Soddy Daisy as well, and you're going to be paying for it, right? So the next spot we're going to talk about is Red Bank. Red Bank is cool because it's one of those areas where prices have still not gone up a ton. And the reason is because your average home size is actually a lot smaller. It's not uncommon to see homes that are 2-bedroom, 1-bath. A lot of times they're going to be older. They're going to have a lot of character, built in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Red Bank is cool because, as one of my clients, Rebecca, says it, sometimes you can find a cream puff property where it's an older home that has just a ton of character. It has like those crystal knobs, and you have original wood flooring and brick fireplaces, and it's really cool. Now, your average price point is going to be smaller in Red Bank as well. You can easily find something in the $250,000 to $400,000 range. Now, keep in mind your home is going to be a little bit smaller and maybe older as well. The only times we see newer homes in Red Bank is if it's on an infill lot, not really in an established community. There are, a couple communities, but not one huge, master plan community in Red Bank. Okay, next spot is going to be Northshore. Northshore is one of the more trendy areas in Chattanooga. Like I said before, your access to downtown is super easy. You're a 5-minute drive, really shorter depending on where you are. But it's just a short drive over the Tennessee River to get to downtown Chattanooga. Now, along the riverbank right here, you've got a little commercial area, right? So you've got your Whole Foods. You also have Coolidge Park, you have Renaissance Park, and you have several different restaurants, coffee shops, ice cream shops, all in this area. And so if you want somewhere that's walkable and trendy, but not super urban, it's more suburban, then Northshore is the spot. Check out this terrain though. Look how hilly it is. So like I was saying before in Soddy Daisy, where it's if you go out on a walk, it's probably not going to be like a super easy stroll. You're going to be hiking up and down hills. Same thing with driving. If we zoom in even more. Alrighty, so this is very typical in what you would see in Northshore, right? So we've got a hill. All right, we've got a commercial area down this road to the left. This is actually downtown Chattanooga right here. You've got some townhomes, some condos on this road as well. And then further up the road, you've got a lot of cool history on this road. Huge house, more of your Victorian style, homes with a lot of character, and these homes go for a premium. This is going to be the more luxury side of Chattanooga. A lot of professionals live here because they value that convenience to downtown Chattanooga. A lot of families live here because there's so much character. There's a lot of parks, a lot of city parks, and a lot of green space, and your access to the outdoors is pretty amazing. This is going to be the more high-end luxury area. Let's stay north of the river. And let's talk about Signal Mountain. Signal Mountain is interesting. I've seen an interesting trend in the real estate market in Signal Mountain. You've got Signal Mountain schools, which are some of the best schools in the area, according to greatschools.com and niche.com. Super desirable for families, right? We see a lot of families living up in Signal Mountain. Now, keep in mind when you're doing your own research, Signal Mountain is a very big suburb. And it's actually split by 2 different counties. I think the county line is like right there. But this is Hamilton County and this is Sequatchie County. This is a very, very rough estimate, so don't tear me up in the comments. But this is important to know because if you are in Hamilton County, then you're going to be part of those very good Signal Mountain schools. If you're in Sequatchie County, you're going to have a completely different school district. You're also going to have completely different home prices. We've noticed that in the in the Hamilton County side of Signal, the demand is a little bit higher, which drives up home prices a little bit, right? This is a great spot. If you go in any of the more established communities in Signal, you'll see kids everywhere. It's really, really cool. There's a few really cool master plan communities like Flipper Bend. Flipper Bend is going to be one of the more high-end luxury communities. That's going to be the final boss. If you want a view, you want an ultra luxury home with a little bit more space as well, Flipper Bend is the spot. Also has some of the highest end amenities that I've seen here in Chattanooga as well. And then you have more of the mid-tier and higher end homes in the rest of Signal Mountain as well. Your median home price is going to be $800,000. And if you are along the Brow, if you're not from here and you're wondering what the Brow is, the Brow comes up often, whether you're in Lookout Mountain or Signal Mountain. If you buy a Brow home that has a beautiful view of the valley, you're going to be paying $1.5 million plus. and more likely around the $2 million price point if you want something that doesn't need a lot of renovation. So that's Signal Mountain. Not a ton of amenities up here, but you do have a Pruitt's Market, you have some doctor's offices, you have a yoga studio, ice cream shop, a few restaurants, like I said, but most of your amenities are actually going to be down in the valley, out in Hixson, or in the North Shore area, and you're going to be traveling there depending on where exactly you're living on Signal. If you're on the south side, you're going to be going to downtown Chattanooga. If you're on the north side, you're going to be going down Roberts Mill to the Northgate Mall area. Signal Mountain is also a spot that has a lot of your outdoor activities, right? You've got Rainbow Falls hiking right here. You've got Julia Falls Overlook. You have Shackleford Ridge County Park. You have close access to North Chickamauga Creek Gorge. You have a lot of your hiking in Signal Mountain and in the North Soddy Daisy area. So just keep that in mind if you're an outdoor lover. If you love hiking, being immersed in that nature, North Soddy Daisy and Signal Mountain might be a great spot for you. So now we will go south of the Tennessee River. We'll talk about Lookout Valley. Lookout Valley kind of stretches right over here. This is a beautiful spot. You got mountain views on all sides. You're super close to Raccoon Mountain, which has some of the best mountain biking and views in all of the Southeast. And you got Prentice Cooper State Park as well, which is great. So again, access to the outdoors is incredible. And then you have Lookout Mountain over to your east. So mountain views on all sides. Now, Lookout Mountain is going to be split up very differently because you have one prominent master plan community called Black Creek. Black Creek is the biggest and one of the best master plan communities in all of Tennessee. You have a top 100 golf course out here at the Black Creek Club, and the community is going to also be split up, right? So in the valley, in the more established part, in the one of the first phases, you have homes that were built in the 2000s. That's really when the community started to build homes back in the 2000s. They're building a brand new community section called the Pass, where you have more, newer construction, right? This is going to be a mix between your mid-tier and super high-end. You can get something in the $600,000 price point on a smaller lot, a smaller home. However, you can go big and get something for $2 million plus. In Black Creek, very amenity heavy. You have that beautiful golf course, you have a restaurant, you have a gym on site, and you also have some pools as well, and then just hiking throughout the community as well. On the other end, you also have the main part of Lookout Valley, which are going to be a mix of different communities, but your median price point is going to be around the $400,000 mark in the more proper part or more established part of Lookout Valley, whereas in Black Creek, your median price point is going to be around the $1.2 million mark. So it's just interesting to see that. Moving east, we've got Lookout Mountain. This isn't mid-tier. This is going to be your high end. This is a very cool community up here. You've got a lot of hiking. You have homes with a lot of character. In fact, a lot of times people built their homes back then to escape from the valley heat. And you also have a lot of tree coverage and rock formations, and all of that kind of comes together to cool down the climate a little bit. This is a spot where I'm pretty sure on all these roads, the speed limit is like 15 miles an hour, 15 or 20 miles an hour max. And so you'll see a lot of people driving on their golf carts. You'll see a lot of people walking around the community. And this is also where a lot of your iconic Chattanooga tourist destinations are going to be. You've got Rock City, which is amazing. If you've never been to Rock City, it's awesome. It's on the Georgia side. So let's talk about that for a second. Lookout Mountain is actually split into Lookout Mountain, Tennessee on this side and Lookout Mountain, Georgia. On the Georgia side, your price point is going to be a little bit better because you're in Georgia, you have a state income tax. In Tennessee, it is very desirable to live up here. Very, very desirable to live up here, and the price point is going to reflect that. You've got places like Point Park, which is an old military memorial and base. You've got Sunset Rock, which is a very popular spot among locals to go to during sunset, hang out on the rock and see beautiful views of the valley. You have a few amenities up here as well, but mostly you're going to be driving down to downtown in order to get to your Walmart and other amenities and things like that. As you travel down south in Lookout Mountain, Georgia, you'll see that it starts to get a little bit more spread out, whereas in the Tennessee side, it's a little bit more walkable. It's beautiful down here, but I've seen some farms down here. There are homes, big estates with a lot of acreage. Still very beautiful, but it just changes once you cross that Georgia border. Now, if you're on the Tennessee side, like I said, you're gonna be paying, $1.2 million plus. If you're on the Georgia side, that price point actually drops a little bit. Although you can easily spend $2 million in Georgia, there are more opportunities in that $300,000 to $400,000 to $500,000 price point. As we go further east down into the valley, now we're talking about St. Elmo. So St. Elmo is a really cool spot because a lot of the homes are very historic. We see a lot of cottage style, we see craftsman style homes in St. Elmo, and it's a mix between a lot of them have become renovated. We've seen a lot of renovated homes with a ton of character, and we've seen new construction. You're going to be paying at least $400,000 to be in St. Elmo. Sometimes you have to sacrifice a few things like a garage. A lot of times you'll be on a hill as well, so that you'll see street parking and things like that. The cool part though is your closeness, your proximity to everything. You're a 5-minute drive to downtown Chattanooga. You're just a short drive up to Lookout Mountain. So this is a cool little pocket. It kind of separates itself a little bit from downtown and Lookout Mountain with a lot of historic homes. All right, onward, let's move to South Side or downtown Chattanooga. All righty, so this is going to be a big mix as well. However, on the lesser expensive side, okay? What you'll mainly see on the South Side area are condos and townhomes. There is opportunity to buy a single family home. However, they're definitely not as prevalent as a townhome or a condo. Now you can easily get into a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo or townhome in the upper 200s. However, once you get above 1 bedroom, 2+ bedrooms, you're going to be, going into the 3, 4, 5, 6s, and even, $1 million price point, depending on where exactly you are in South Side. As a general rule, the closer you are to the river, say you're on Chestnut Street or something like that, the more expensive it's going to get for a condo, especially if you are close to Market Street and the Walnut Street Bridge. If you're close to this area and you get a condo, you're going to be paying easily over $600,000. South Side is where a lot of your restaurants and bars are going to be. You also have the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, located out in this area as well. And you also have a few parks spread throughout, like you have Montage Park right here with the sculpture fields as well. You'll see a lot of art in this area. This is a very trendy area as well. It's very vibrant. You'll see a lot of people who are walking or going on runs or biking. And this is where a lot of people are hanging out on the weekends as well, going out to for a bite to eat, to a restaurant or a bar. And you're connected by the Walnut Street Bridge to Northshore, right? And so you can easily switch between Coolidge Park, Renaissance Park, and walk along the bridge. It's closed right now, but for maintenance. But walk from North Shore to South Side is where all of your restaurants and things are going to be. All right, so next spot we'll talk about is East Ridge. East Ridge is, again, one of those starter home areas. You'll see a little bit older homes, ranch style, or your split level brick homes on sometimes a little bit bigger lots. This is also a great spot because you're super close to the Tennessee-Georgia border. And I like this area because you've got Costco. You have a brand spanking new commercial area where you've got a brand new Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, Dos Bros. If you watch like my first videos on this channel, you'll see that I rave about Dos Bros, but I've had to cut back a little bit. Like I said, you've got that Costco. You also have a Bass Pro Shops. And there are certainly nice communities that you can buy in at a decent price. Now moving further east, we're gonna go over East Brainerd. So the reason why I went over the roads initially is because the roads really kind of split everything up, right? So East Brainerd, we've got Ooltewah Ringgold Road that separates East Brainerd from Apison. We're talking about East Brainerd right now. East Brainerd, if I could sum it up into like one word, it's convenience. The reason why it's super convenient is because you've got the Hamilton Place Mall right here. Hamilton Place Mall is going to be the main mall in all of Chattanooga. And furthermore, if we expand outside of the mall area, we do have this road. It's called Gun Barrel Road. It has 6 or 7 different grocery stores. You got your Walmart, your Target, your Whole Foods, Fresh Market, Trader Joe's, Publix. You have a World Market over here as well. You have a ton offered right here. And so when I initially moved to Chattanooga, I actually lived in East Brainerd. And I've actually lived in a few different spots. I've lived in East Brainerd, I've lived in Ooltewah, then I moved back to East Brainerd. It's super convenient. It's also part of the East Hamilton School District. If you know anything about the schools, this is one of the better school districts in the area as well. And this area, you can get your starter, your mid-tier, or your high-end home. There are a lot of different ridges in this area. So if you buy something with a view and it's a nice home over 2,500 square foot, then you're looking to spend over $1 million, right? I just sold my home in East Brainerd and I sold it for around the 415 mark, and it had a beautiful view. It was older. It was a 1990s home, 2,000 square foot, just sold for $420,000 on half an acre and had a beautiful view. So there's opportunity like that as well. You just have to hop on it because homes like that tend to be a little bit more desirable as well. Your median price point in East Brainerd is going to be around the $425,000 mark. But like I said, this one is also a big mix where, you can get your entry level, mid-tier, or high-end luxury home for $2.4 million. And we'll just keep moving further east. We'll move to Apison. Apison is still going to be part of that East Hamilton School District. And as you can see from the map here, there's this ridge that kind of separates Apison from East Brainerd as well. You can also tell from the map, the more green it gets, the more rural, the more spread out it is. So whereas East Brainerd is a little bit more condensed and more established, Apison and Ooltewah are newer. And so when we talk about uniformity and the type of homes in an area, what they look like, the size, and their price points, Apison is one of the most uniform areas in Chattanooga. This is going to be your mid-tier and high-end area. A lot of new construction. There is opportunities for the entry level, like there's a community by D.R. Horton where they have some pretty good incentives around that $450,000 price point where they're paying some of your closing costs and paying for a rate buy down. Same thing with Smith and Douglas Homes, similar situation where it's a new construction community and they have some of those incentives. On the other hand, if you travel down like East Brainerd Road or Standerford Gap or London Lane or even Alabama Road, what you're going to find are massive estates. Very established homes, older, 1980s, 90s, even 2000s on a lot of acreage. And those homes easily go for $1 million plus. Even the new construction homes in general, you're going to be paying at least $500,000 to $600,000 to get into those. You move to Apison because you also just want to get away from it all. If we went back to Apison 20 years ago, this was all just forest and farmland. Now new construction communities are popping up here and there. It's just a little bit more rural from everything. However, you're still within 15 minutes of everything that you need. Except for downtown, you're going to be about 30 minutes from downtown. But if you want to just be in a more, established, typical community and neighborhood, then you're going to be moving to Apison. Now let's move to Ooltewah. So Ooltewah is this big stretch right over here. It basically stretches down from the border of Georgia all the way up, and it borders some of the lake. Again, uniformity for the most part. Down in the south part of Ooltewah, you'll see a lot of established communities where sometimes you'll find communities where the average home price is $300K. However, if you move further north towards the Collegedale area and towards Four Corners, this is called Four Corners right here, you'll see that the homes start to get a little bit bigger, more luxurious, and then your average price point actually increases as well. Average price point in Ooltewah is going to be around the $550,000 mark. If you watched my videos 2 years ago, I would tell you that it's around 400. So the appreciation in Ooltewah has been absolutely insane. And there's just a lot more demand and a lot more availability out here. One of the reasons is because it's beautiful, it's clean. Like I said, it's uniform. You have your downtown Ooltewah area right here where that's going to have your amenities like Publix and Aldi and Walmart. You got Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, all of those things located right here. You also have a place called Cambridge Square, which is both a residential area and commercial area that's super walkable. A lot of character. It's newer. It's right next to the Honors Course, which is the #1 golf course in all of Tennessee. And so if they place the #1 golf course in all of Tennessee in Ooltewah, that says something. All right. This spot in Cambridge Square is going to be higher end, where you're going to be paying likely $1 million plus for your home because you're paying for that convenience and walkability. And so Ooltewah is just going to have so many diverse homes, right? You can find something in that 400 to 450 mark that's a little bit older. It's probably a brick style home in a more established community. And then you can buy something on the lake where you're going to be spending $1.5 million plus to be in a lakefront home. There's just so many different options you can have in Ooltewah. There's not one huge master plan community that sticks out to me in this area. There are plenty. The main thing you need to know are the different roadways, right? So when I have clients who are traveling to the area and we hop on a Zoom call and we discover that Ooltewah might be one of the best fits for them, I tell them this: travel on a few different roads. #1, Ooltewah Ringgold Road. The name in the road is indicative of the direction that it goes. So Ringgold is just south of the Tennessee-Georgia border, and it connects Ooltewah and Ringgold. Ooltewah Ringgold Road. There's going to be plenty of neighborhoods off of this road, and whatever catches your eye, just go ahead and drive down them, and you'll see a big mix, from the $450,000 price point all the way up to $1 million to 1.5 for your more modern luxury homes. And then you have Ooltewah Georgetown Road, which is going to be very similar, which is going to connect you to those lakefront homes. You also have Hunter Road right here, which is very similar. It'll connect you to Highway 58, where you can find the lake. And then you have Snow Hill Road right here. It's a smaller road that connects you to the Ooltewah Club, which is another prominent golf course in the area. And then you're going to find different offshoots of several different types of homes and neighborhoods out here. All right, next spot, we are going over Harrison. So Harrison also stretches in a pretty long way. Again, this is a rough estimate, so please do not destroy me in the comments. Again, this is going to be a bigger mix of different type of home styles. If you're living in the thumb along the outer edge, there are going to be different neighborhoods where your average price point is $800,000. A lot of times those are going to be newer communities with newer homes. And then you can find more established homes where the average price point is $400K. That's just the nature of the game out in Harrison. All right. And again, same thing. If you're getting a lakefront home, you're going to be paying a premium, $1.5 million plus, sometimes even more. I actually love this area because it has one of my favorite Mexican restaurants on the water called Amigos. So if you do invite me on your boat when you buy a lakefront property from me, the first place I'm going to take you is Amigos because it's awesome. The lake is such a big part of the culture here in Chattanooga. And during the summer, we try to go out at least once a week or once every 2 weeks. Key is to find a friend with a boat. If you do move here, I can hook you guys up. But just keep in mind, lake life is awesome. And if you're living in Harrison or North Ooltewah, then your access to the lake is going to be pretty amazing. Last spot before I end this video is going to be Cleveland. And Cleveland is technically not part of Chattanooga, but it basically is. Because if you're looking to move to Chattanooga and you don't need to be tied to downtown Chattanooga, then you may as well look at Cleveland because there's a lot of options. It's this huge area. It's encompassed by Bradley Square. Cleveland is in Bradley County, and it covers a huge area. And as you can see, just how the map separates the gray area from the green area, you can get rural very quickly. So right in the center of Cleveland, you have Lee University. Now, Lee University is one of the more prominent private colleges in the area. And then right in this downtown area, it's super walkable. There's a lot of character. It's very historic. You'll see restaurants, a lot of old brick buildings and things like that. It's a super cool spot. You drive 5 minutes out and you are in rural country land. That's the cool part about Cleveland. If you live here, you won't really need to be driving to downtown Chattanooga unless you're working there, because you have several restaurants over here, but you also have Bradley Square. Bradley Square is going to be one of the main malls in Cleveland, and it has everything you need. It's all very new. It's clean. It looks really good. Now, there's 3 types of homes you can buy in Cleveland, and it's very similar to Chattanooga. You can buy something that's smaller, a little bit more historic with a little bit more character in the downtown Cleveland area. You can drive 5 minutes out, get something on a massive property, get a lot of acreage, get a big estate. Sometimes you can get buy newer homes if you go west towards McDonald between Cleveland and Ooltewah. And then it becomes a little bit more affordable the more east you go, because there's really just nothing out here. It's super rural in the Benton area and then outside of Charleston. So if you want property close distance to Chattanooga, you're gonna be paying an absolute premium for that. That's exactly what me and my wife wanted. And what we ended up doing is we just moved to North Georgia because there's more of that. That's going to be a completely separate video. However, big mix of what you can find in Cleveland. Starter homes. You can find those homes on property. And then you can find something in a typical, more established neighborhood. There are plenty of beautiful communities in the Cleveland area. If you have not watched my Cleveland area breakdown, I totally suggest you do that. And that is the video, guys. I hope you found that helpful. If you are looking to move to the Chattanooga area, please feel free to contact me in any of the ways down below. I am the one answering those phone calls, emails, and text messages. And as much as I love making these videos, I love more to help you guys with your real estate needs. So feel free to reach out. I love hearing from you guys. If you like this video, hit that like button, comment down below, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.